Israel had targeted Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah in a massive blast in the capital of Lebanon, in Beirut. I want to go to my colleague, Jumana Karachi, who has been following this story for us. Jumana, it was your initial reporting and your headlines internally here at CNN that caught our attention over an hour ago now when you were reporting massive blasts. Tell us now what we know. 6 buildings leveled. The casualty numbers are just coming in. What are you seeing and hearing?
Well, as you mentioned, Bianna, we've just heard from the Ministry of Health that at least 2 people were killed, 76 were injured in those massive blasts that targeted Beirut's southern suburbs. As we understand, of course, from the Israeli military, the target of those strikes was the leader. They say it was a command center, but what we understand from my colleague Jeremy Diamond, according to a security official, a senior Israeli official, that the target was the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah. And that is the big question right now. What if Nasrallah was there, if Nasrallah survived? We understand from the senior Israeli official that the Israeli military is working to verify that. You would have a post-strike assessment, and that is still not clear. Nothing official from Hezbollah yet, nothing from the Lebanese government, but a senior security official telling my colleague Tamara Qiblawi, when asked about Hassan Nasrallah and his status right now, he says, we wait. And the whole country right now is on edge as it waits for news of whether the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, was indeed in that location, in that densely populated part of Beirut, in the southern suburbs, if he survived, if he was injured. All these questions right now putting this entire country on edge. A dangerous escalation. Bianna, doesn't begin to describe the situation right now.
Yeah, as we've been seeing things escalate quite quickly even prior to this targeted assassination of Hassan Nasrallah by the Israelis. We've seen hundreds of those killed in Lebanon over the past week and a half. Hezbollah launching a ballistic missile that was successfully thwarted at Israel. Again, everyone really on knife's edge here. And as many of our guests have already said, many red lines have already been crossed here. Jumana Karachi, thank you so much. Keep us posted on any developments you hear. Let's go to Israel, and our Nick Robertson is in Tel Aviv. And Nick, the United States responding, saying that they, were not involved in any way, shape, or form in this targeted assassination of Hassan Nasrallah, and that they were given a heads up or notification. The defense minister telling his counterpart here in the United States, Defense Secretary Austin, as this operation was underway. Any new information that you're hearing now from the IDF over the course of the last hour since we heard from Rear Admiral Hagari?
No. What we know is that the defense minister has been sitting in one of the command centers with other commanders around him, analyzing what's happening in Beirut, analyzing all the information streams that they have access to try to figure out precisely what has happened. And while we're talking about this, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with an official earlier this week about the possibility, as all these different Hezbollah commanders were being assassinated in the suburbs of Beirut. I asked the sort of obvious question, well, would Hassan Nasrallah be on that target list? And I was sort of given the impression that that may or may not be the case. It wasn't clear. But the impression I took away from the conversation that I was having was, well, what happens if you remove Hassan Nasrallah? Who do you get in his place? Who picks up? Is it somebody more radical? And remembering that Hassan Nasrallah is not a military commander per se. He has all those military commanders underneath of him. He's more of a sort of a figurehead, a leader. absolutely in command, absolutely the top of, the top person within Hezbollah, no doubt about his authority. But when he says, I want this done, I want this done, I want this done, it's the commanders, the military commanders underneath of him who realize that. So therefore, the question becomes, what happens if you remove him? It's not going to stop the organization functioning, although clearly the organization is absolutely on the back foot. It's been decimated in many ways, command and control, leaders removed, the pager attacks, the walkie-talkie attacks. All of that has really put Hezbollah on the back foot. And this, if Hassan Nasrallah is dead, it puts them even further on the back foot. But the question does become, what sort of person inherits the leadership of Hezbollah? What sort of decisions would they take? Will they become more aggressive in their position towards Israel, where Nasrallah has been cautious in the past about not escalating, about sort of keeping the movement and the organization of Hezbollah together, not drawing Israel, not allowing Israel to draw it into a greater fight, if you will, by not responding to escalations, previous escalations, with their own overwhelming escalation towards Israel, staying out of that. Is that the sort of leader that you get in his place? It is frankly too soon in a way to be discussing this, but these will have been the discussions prior that went into whether or not to target the leader of Hezbollah. And clearly a decision was taken to target him on the belief that that was going to further Israel's efforts to move Hezbollah off the border, where they threaten the civilians in the north of Israel. And that the assessment was clearly that this is the right course of action. Now, Israel could be proved wrong in this case. There could be a much wilder card that takes over in leading Hezbollah, and that could lead to a much harder to predict type of escalation and fight. Nevertheless, that is where we are at the moment. And of course, if Hassan Nasrallah has survived, then what decision set is he going to take now based on this? How will he respond to an attempt to take his life? Will it be personal? Will it escalate, or will he not?
Prior to this attempted assassination, we had heard from the IDF Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, earlier this week say that they are prepared when that call is made for a potential land invasion into southern Lebanon there. And we're also hearing and reporting now that Prime Minister Netanyahu has cut short his trip to the United States and is on his way back to Israel right now upon news of this massive strike, the target being Hassan Nasrallah himself. Nick Robertson, thank you. I want to go to Nabi Boulos, who is the Middle East bureau chief for the Los Angeles Times. He just visited the site of that explosion in Beirut. He joins us by phone. Nabi, thank you so much for taking the time to call us. Tell us what you saw there.
Well, I mean, it was just a huge site. Just the attack site was really, I think it's about 6 buildings is what I've heard. But I mean, we only saw a part of it, to be honest with you. And it was basically just overturned. You had no sense that there were buildings there. It was mostly just dirt had sort of flipped around as if the ground itself had turned over upside down. And on one side of it, you could see almost like a crevice in the ground where a tree had fallen, and the sort of front edge of a building had been torn off. It really, the scale of the destruction is just really hard to describe because it was so much. And right now, they're just digging through. We're hearing initial reports of 76 wounded, but of course, I'm sure that's going to be much more because, they're still digging through the rubble, and they will almost certainly have many people. To be clear, this is a very, very populated area.
Yeah.
In fact, right near it, there's a big refugee camp, and everyone there was just leaving en masse. I saw a big exodus from that refugee camp with people just escaping and taking all their stuff and finding anywhere else to go.
Were you able to get close to the buildings themselves, this targeted site? As we know, 6 buildings we've reported have been leveled by this. How close to the area of destruction were you able to get?
We were at the very edge of it. We were led Hezbollah cadres took us in to see the area, and we were let into the very edge of it where rescue crews were working. And you could see excavators digging in the site, people going through it. Of course, there was still a fire going on. But as I said, this was the edge of the site, and it's quite large. So, I mean, it was at least as large as a city block. So we didn't get a full view of the destruction, is what it amounts to.
Did you feel the blast yourself?
No, but I heard it certainly. I mean, I was home, and I just heard a successive, like a number of successive booms, and they really shook the apartment. In fact, my cats ran away, of course, and you could hear all the glass shaking in the house. It really was. It was quite different from other attacks that we've heard in Beirut. This one seems to have been the big one.
What is the Lebanese media there, especially in Beirut? What are they reporting at this point? What are you hearing and seeing on their news broadcasts in the aftermath? Again, this is just an hour and a half ago or so.
I mean, right now, most of what's being said is just trying to figure out the damage and who was killed, of course. Now, we've heard various things about about Nasrallah still being alive. We've heard various reports. I've actually yet to see any kind of official statement from Hezbollah myself, but at the same time, we're talking about, it's very confusing right now. Everyone is still trying to figure out the scale of the destruction.